Commander stood in the observation room high above the training yard. His golden eyes watched the screens with a feeling he did not like. It was confusion. It was worry. It was something else he could not name. On the screen below, a human woman sat in the middle of the yard. She was small. She was soft. She had no claws, no fangs, no fur to protect her skin. By every measure they used, she was weak. And yet 6 cubs climbed over her like she was their mother. They were hunters. They stood 7 feet tall when fully grown. They had muscles like steel cables under thick fur. Their claws could cut through metal. Their fangs could crush bone. They were born to fight, raised to kill, and trained to feel nothing but duty to the Dominion. The cubs in the yard would one day become the Fang Corps. They were the elite, the best of the best. They had been taken from their birth mothers at 3 months old. They had never known softness. They had never known play. They had never known love. Until the human came. Sergeant Maya had arrived 3 months ago. She was a liaison officer sent by the Human Alliance as part of a diplomatic exchange. Her job was simple: watch, learn, report back. She was not supposed to interact with the training programs. She was not supposed to enter the cubs' compound. But the smallest cub had escaped one night. Little, barely 4 years old, had crawled through a gap in the fence. She was trying to catch a night bird. She was curious. Curiosity was beaten out of cubs early, but still had some left. She had found the human instead. Maya had been sitting outside her quarters, looking at the stars. When the small cub appeared from the darkness, Maya did not scream. She did not call for guards. She simply smiled and said hello. Did not know what a smile meant, but something in her young heart told her it was good. She had stayed with the human until morning. When the guards found her, was asleep in Maya's lap. The human was stroking her fur and humming a soft song. The guards had been furious. They had taken away for punishment, but something strange happened. The other cubs in this group became restless. They kept looking toward the human's quarters. They stopped eating properly. They fought with their trainers. Senior instructor had come to Commander with a report. The cubs were becoming difficult, aggressive, uncontrollable. Had made a decision that went against every tradition. He allowed the human to visit the cubs' compound, just for 1 hour each day, just to see if it would calm them. It did more than calm them. Within 1 week, the cubs were transformed. They still trained hard, they still fought well. But there was something new in their eyes. They worked together in ways that cubs never did. They protected each other. They communicated without words. They moved like a true pack. And at the end of each day, they waited for their human. Maya learned their names, was the largest, already showing the muscles that would make him a great warrior. He was quiet and watchful, always standing between the others and any threat. Senna was fast, the quickest of the group, her reflexes sharp as lightning. Torch had orange patches in his fur, rare for and he was clever, always thinking 3 steps ahead. There was also who was strong but gentle and who was fierce and proud. And then there was the smallest, the weakest, the one who should have been removed from the program long ago. But was special. Maya saw it from the first night. The little cub had something the others did not. She had heart. She had courage that did not come from muscles or claws. She had the kind of bravery that made her crawl through fences to chase birds in the dark. Maya taught them things their instructors never had. She taught them games, simple human games with balls and running and counting. The cubs learned to laugh. The sound was strange to them at first. It came out rough and awkward, but soon it became natural. She taught them words in her language. Hello, goodbye, thank you, friend. She taught them to sleep without fear. The cubs slept in separate cells. They were not allowed to touch each other. Contact was weakness. But Maya sat with them in the evenings and they curled around her like a pile of clouds. They slept deeper than they ever had before. Their combat scores went up by 34%. Their tactical cooperation tests broke all previous records for their age group. The instructors could not explain it. But Commander understood. The cubs were not just fighting anymore. They were fighting for something, for someone. Sub-Commander stood beside now, watching the same screen. His ears were flat against his skull. This was a sign of deep disapproval among the. This is dangerous, said. They are becoming attached, dependent. This is not how warriors are made. Their scores say otherwise, replied. Scores can lie. What happens when the human leaves? What happens when she dies? Humans live such short lives, Commander. These cubs will serve the Dominion for 80 years. The human will be dead in 50, perhaps less. Did not answer. He watched Maya on the screen. She was teaching the cubs to make shapes with their claws in the sand. They were laughing again, that strange, rough sound. Little sat in Maya's lap as she always did. Her eyes were closed. Her claws were retracted. She was completely vulnerable, completely unguarded. In the way, this was the greatest weakness possible. But looking at the cub's peaceful face, wondered if perhaps it was something else. Perhaps it was trust. Perhaps it was safety. Perhaps it was strength of a different kind. The High Council will not approve, warned. When they learn of this bond, they will order separation. They will send the human away. Perhaps, said quietly. And what will happen to the cubs then? Watched sleeping in the human's arms. He watched standing guard nearby, his young eyes scanning for threats that would never come. He watched all 6 cubs, future warriors of the Dominion, completely transformed by one small, soft, clawless human. I do not know, admitted, but I suspect we are about to find out. On the screen, Maya looked up. Just for a moment it seemed like she was looking directly at the observation room. Directly at, her eyes were calm and knowing. Then she smiled and went back to her cubs. Felt a chill run down his spine. Humans, he decided, were more dangerous than anyone in the Dominion had ever realized. And the danger had nothing to do with weapons. The message came on a cold morning when the 2 sons of Prime were still low in the purple sky. Commander read it 3 times. The words did not change. They were clear and absolute, stamped with the seal of High Command itself. Human liaison officer Maya was to be transferred immediately. She would be sent to the diplomatic station on 7, a small moon on the far edge of Dominion space. The assignment was permanent. She would not return. The cubs would resume standard training protocols. There would be no more games, no more evening gatherings, no more human. Sat in his office for a long time after reading the message. Through his window, he could see the training yard. The cubs were there now, running combat drills with instructor. Even from this distance, could see how they moved. They moved like water. They moved like one creature with 12 legs and 12 arms. They covered each other without thinking, protected each other without being told. They were magnificent. And High Command wanted to take away the very thing that had made them this way. Entered without knocking, he had clearly received the same message. It is done, said. There was satisfaction in his voice. The council has spoken. The human will be removed and proper order will be restored. Proper order, repeated. The words tasted bitter. Yes, Commander, the cubs have become too attached. This attachment is a weakness that our enemies could exploit. Imagine if the human were captured in battle. Imagine if she were killed. These cubs would be useless. They might even turn against the Dominion to save her. Knew was right. He knew the logic was sound, but something inside him resisted. Who will tell her? Asked. I assumed you would, Commander. It is your compound. Stood, his joints ached. He was old for a warrior, nearly 60 years of service behind him. He had given orders that sent thousands to die. He had watched worlds burn. He had never hesitated. But walking to Maya's quarters was the hardest thing he had done in decades. She opened the door before he knocked. She already knew. He could see it in her strange, flat face and her small, round eyes. When, she asked. Tomorrow morning, a transport will arrive at dawn. Maya nodded. She did not argue. She did not cry. Humans had water that came from their eyes when they were sad, had learned, but Maya's eyes were dry. May I say goodbye to them? She asked. You have 15 minutes. 15 minutes, she repeated, for 6 children who think of me as their family. Felt something twist in his chest. The council's orders were clear. I cannot give you more time. I understand, Commander, she paused. Do you think this will work, separating us? I do not know what you mean. Maya smiled. It was a sad smile, tired and old. I mean, do you think you can undo what has been done? Do you think they will forget? Do you think they will go back to being what they were before? Did not answer. They will not, Maya said quietly. I have given them something, Commander, or perhaps I have awakened something that was always there, something your training tried to bury. You cannot kill it now. You can only make them suffer for having it. She stepped past him and walked toward the training yard. Followed at a distance, he watched her enter the compound. The cubs saw her immediately. They stopped their drills and ran to her, surrounding her with their bodies. She knelt down. She was so small compared to them, even though they were only children, stood as tall as her shoulder. In 2 years, he would tower over her. She spoke to them quietly, could not hear the words, but he saw the cubs' faces change. He saw their ears droop, he saw their tails go still. Little pressed her face into Maya's chest. Her small body shook. She was crying, realized. Cubs did not cry. It was trained out of them before they could walk, but was crying now, making small sounds of pain that cut through the morning air. Maya held her. She held all of them one by one, pressing her forehead to theirs in the gesture of pack bonding. It was a sacred gesture, meant only for true family. No outsider should have known it. But Maya knew. When the 15 minutes were over, Maya stood. She touched each cub's face one last time. Then she turned and walked away. She did not look back, watched her disappear into her quarters. Her back was straight. Her steps were steady. She did not falter. Humans, he thought, were very good at hiding their pain. In the yard, the cubs stood frozen. They watched the door where Maya had gone. They did not move. They did not speak. Then slowly they sat down, all 6 of them right there in the middle of the training yard. They sat in a circle, facing the direction their human had gone. And they waited. Instructor stormed over to them. "Get up," he roared. "Training is not finished. Get up now." The cubs did not move. Claws extended. I said, "Get up." Looked at him, just looked. There was no fear in his young eyes. There was something else. Something that made take a step back without meaning to. "We will wait," said, "until Maya comes back." "She is not coming back, you foolish child. She is leaving. Forever. Now get up and complete your training." "No." The word hung in the air. No, such a simple word, such a small sound. But it was a word that cubs did not say. It was a word that meant defiance. It was a word that meant disobedience. It was a word that meant war. Commander watched from his window. He watched instructor try everything. Threats, punishments, bribes, nothing worked. The cubs would not move. The transport came at dawn the next day, stood at the landing pad as Maya walked toward the ship. She carried a small bag with all her belongings. She wore her Human Alliance uniform, neat and clean. She stopped in front of and saluted. "Thank you for your hospitality, Commander." "Sergeant," he hesitated. "For what it is worth, I am sorry." Something flickered in her eyes. "Are you?" "The cubs," he struggled to find words. "They have stopped eating. They will not train. They will not move from the spot where you left them." Maya closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were wet. The water humans made when they were sad. "Take care of them, Commander," she whispered. "Please, they are special. They are more than weapons. Promise me you will remember that." "I will try." She nodded once, then she walked onto the transport and did not look back. The ship rose into the purple sky and disappeared among the stars. In the training yard, 6 cubs waited. They did not know that Maya was gone. They did not know that she was already 1,000,000 miles away and moving further every second. They only knew that she had promised to come back. And, unlike humans, did not understand that sometimes promises could not be kept. Little sat in the center of the circle, exactly where Maya had left her. Her eyes were fixed on the door. Her ears were pointed forward, listening for footsteps that would not come. She waited. They all waited. And Commander, watching from his window, felt something break inside his chest that he did not know he still had. The first day was chaos. Senior instructor tried everything he knew. He screamed until his throat was raw. He threatened pain and punishment. He promised rewards. He brought in other instructors, bigger and more frightening than himself. The cubs did not move. They sat in their circle in the training yard, exactly where Maya had left them. When the sun set, they huddled together for warmth. When the suns rose, they were still there. Guards brought food. The cubs did not eat. Guards brought water. The cubs drank only a little, just enough to stay alive. "This is impossible," growled, packing in front of Commander. "They are children. They should obey. This is what they are trained for." "And yet they do not," observed. "The human has poisoned their minds. She has used some kind of technique, some manipulation. Humans are known for their tricks." "Are they?" Stopped packing. "Commander, you cannot seriously believe that this is natural. These cubs were perfect soldiers. They obeyed every order. They showed no weakness. And now they sit in the dirt like lost animals, waiting for a creature that will never return." Perhaps, said slowly, that is exactly the problem. They were perfect soldiers. They were not anything else. What else should they be? Did not answer. On the second day, changed tactics. He ordered the guards to physically move the cubs, to pick them up and carry them to the training arena. The guards tried, they really tried. But the cubs fought back, not with violence that would have been expected, and the guards were prepared for it. No, the cubs went limp. They became dead weight. When a guard picked one up, two others would grab hold of their legs. When guards separated them, they would crawl back together the moment they were released. It was like trying to pick up water with bare claws. After 6 hours, the guards were exhausted. The cubs were exactly where they had started. On the third day, High Command sent a message demanding a progress report, wrote back honestly. The cubs remained non-compliant. Standard methods were not working. High Command sent new orders. Use force, real force, make an example of one, and the others would fall in line. Smiled when he read the orders. Finally, he was being allowed to do things the proper way. He entered the training yard with 3 senior warriors at his back. The cubs watched him approach, but did not move from their circle. This is your final warning, announced. You will stand, you will train, or you will be punished so severely that you will wish you had never been born. Silence. Very well, pointed at Little. Her first, she is the weakest, make an example. The warriors moved forward, did not run. She did not try to hide behind the others. She simply sat very still and watched them come. But stood up. He was only 8 years old. He was not yet fully grown, but he stood in front of with his arms spread wide, blocking the warrior's path. You will not touch her, he said. Laughed, and who will stop us? You, a cub barely weaned. Yes, said me. The warriors grabbed him. They threw him aside. He hit the ground hard, rolled, and was on his feet in an instant. He ran back to stand in front of again. They threw him down 3 more times. Each time he got up. Each time he came back, his lip was split. His shoulder was bleeding, but his eyes never left. The other cubs were standing now too. Senna, Torch. They formed a wall in front of their smallest member. You will have to kill us, Torch said quietly. Kill all of us, because we will not let you hurt her. Stared at them. Something was happening here that he did not understand. Cubs did not protect each other. Cubs did not sacrifice for each other. Cubs were trained to be alone, to need no one, to care for nothing but the mission. These cubs were different. Move aside, he ordered. No. I will break you. I will break all of you. Then break us, Senna said. Her voice was calm, almost peaceful. It does not matter. Maya taught us what we fight for. You only taught us how to fight. Without the first, the second means nothing. The words hit like a physical blow. He stood frozen, his claws extended, his breath coming hard. Behind him, the 3 senior warriors shifted uneasily. One of them whispered something to another. The words spread quickly through the training compound. The cubs had refused. The cubs had, and they were willing to die rather than submit. Made his decision. He stepped forward and struck across the face with his open claws, not enough to kill, just enough to hurt, just enough to make an example. Did not cry out, she did not flinch, she did not even close her eyes. She simply looked at with an expression that made his blood run cold. It was pity. Him. Maya taught us that pain is not the worst thing, said softly. Blood ran down her small face, but her voice was steady. Betraying the ones you love is worse. Being alone is worse. Forgetting who you are is worse. She reached up and touched the wound on her face. Then she looked at the blood on her fingers. You can hurt us, she continued. You can hurt us every day, but you cannot make us forget. You cannot make us stop loving her. You cannot take away what she gave us. And what is that? Demanded. What did that weak, clawless, pathetic creature give you that was worth this? Smiled. It was Maya's smile, learned and practiced until it was natural. Warm, kind, unbreakable. She gave us each other, said. She taught us that we are pack, that we would die for each other, that we would live for each other, that we are stronger together than any of us could ever be alone. She looked at her brothers and sisters. They looked back at her, and in that moment saw something that terrified him. They were not 6 cubs. They were one creature, one mind, one heart, one unbreakable will. He had seen warriors like this before, elite soldiers who had fought together for decades, bonded pairs who had survived impossible battles, veterans who had become legends. but never cubs, never children, never this young. It should have been impossible. Took a step back, then another. He turned and walked away without another word. In his report to Commander that night, he wrote only 2 lines. Standard methods are ineffective. These cubs cannot be broken by force. They have become something we have never seen before. Read the report and thought of Maya, millions of miles away, probably thinking of her cubs right now. "What have you done?" he whispered to the empty room. "What have you created?" But deep in his old warrior's heart, he already knew the answer. She had created a pack, a true pack, the kind of pack that they had forgotten how to make long, long ago. And there was no force in the galaxy that could tear it apart. 3 weeks passed, then 4. The medical officer's reports grew darker with each passing day. Commander read them in his office, alone in the quiet hours before dawn. The cubs were dying. Not quickly, not dramatically, but slowly, steadily their bodies were shutting down. They ate only enough to keep their hearts beating. They drank only enough to keep their blood flowing. They did not play. They did not speak except to each other. They did not train. They waited. "Vital signs are critical for subjects 3 and 6, the medical officer reported. Subject 3 was, subject 6 was, the smallest and the proudest, both fatting like lights running out of power. "Can we force-feed them?" asked. "We tried, Commander. They resist. We would have to sedate them completely, and at their current weakness, sedation could be fatal." "Then we do nothing." "I am a doctor, Commander. My job is to preserve life, but these cubs—" The medical officer hesitated. "They have decided to die. I do not know how to fight an enemy that exists only in the heart." Dismissed him and sat alone in the darkness. High Command called every day now. Their messages had shifted from anger to confusion to something that sounded almost like fear. The Dominion had ruled 100 worlds for 1,000 years. They had crushed rebellions from species far more dangerous than 6 small cubs. But they could not crush this. "Explain to me," the High Council leader demanded over the comm channel, "how 6 children are defeating the entire apparatus of our military training system." "They are not fighting us," said carefully. "That is the problem. If they fought, we could fight back. If they resisted with violence, we could meet violence with violence. But they simply refuse. They refuse to participate. They refuse to engage. They refuse to be anything other than what the human made them. Then separate them, put each one in isolation, break the pack bond." "We tried. When separated, they stopped eating entirely. Subject 4 nearly died before we reunited them." Silence from the other end of the channel. "Commander," the council leader said slowly, "are you telling me that our future elite warriors would rather die than train without one human female?" "Yes. That is madness." "Perhaps," thought of's face, bloody but calm, smiling at instructor with perfect peace. "Or perhaps it is something else, something we have forgotten how to understand." "Do not speak in riddles. What do you propose?" Took a deep breath. This was the moment. This was the choice he had been building toward for weeks. Once he said the words, there would be no going back. "I propose we recall the human." The silence that followed was absolute. "Impossible," the council leader finally said. "We cannot allow military protocol to be dictated by the emotional attachments of children." "With respect, council leader, we are not dealing with normal children. These 6 cubs have demonstrated more willpower, more unity, and more determination than any soldiers I have seen in 60 years of service. They are not defying us out of weakness. They are defying us out of strength. Strength, they are starving themselves to death. Because they believe in something more important than their own survival." Leaned forward. "Do you understand what that means, council leader? Have you ever commanded soldiers who would die for an idea, for a person, for love?" The word hung in the air. Love, it was not a word. It was a human word, one that had looked up in the cultural database weeks ago. "Love is weakness," the council leader said. "Attachment is vulnerability. This is why we train our warriors from birth to need no one." "And this is why our warriors fight well but die easily," replied. "This is why our alliances crumble and our conquered worlds rebel. This is why the human alliance, with its soft bodies and short lives and ridiculous emotions, controls more territory than we do." "You go too far, Commander." "I go exactly far enough." Stood, even though the council leader could not see him. "I have fought humans in battle. I have seen them die for each other. I have seen them perform impossible acts of courage because someone they loved was in danger. I have seen them win wars they should have lost, survive odds they should not have survived. He paused, gathering his thoughts. And now I have seen that same fire in the eyes of 6 cubs who learned to love a human woman. They are willing to die for her. They are willing to die for each other. And if we could harness that power instead of trying to destroy it, we would have warriors unlike any the galaxy has ever seen. The council leader was quiet for a long moment. You are asking us to admit that our entire training philosophy is wrong. I am asking you to admit that there is another way, a better way, a way that the humans have always known and that we forgot long ago when we decided that strength meant being alone. And if we recall the human, if we allow this attachment to continue, what happens when she dies? Humans live such short lives. Thought about this? It was the question that had haunted him since the beginning. They will grieve, he said finally. They will mourn. They will carry her memory in their hearts forever, and then they will find others to love. They will teach what she taught them. They will spread the fire to new cubs, new generations, new packs. He took a breath. That is what humans do, council leader. They love and they lose and they love again. They break and they heal and they become stronger in the broken places. It is painful. It is messy. It is completely irrational. He smiled, though the council leader could not see it. And it is the most powerful force in the universe. The comm channel was silent for so long that thought the connection had been lost. Then, finally, the council leader spoke. Recall the human. Closed his eyes. Thank you, council leader. Do not thank me yet, Commander. If this fails, if these cubs become liabilities instead of assets, the blame will fall on you. Your career, your honor, your life. I understand. I hope you do, the council leader paused. I hope you are right about this, because if you are wrong, you will have doomed not just yourself, but the entire future of the Fang Corps. The channel closed. Sat in the darkness for a long time. Then he called his communications officer. Send a priority message to the diplomatic station on 7, he ordered. Inform Sergeant Maya that her presence is required immediately at Training Compound 7. What reason should I give, Commander? Thought of 6 small cubs huddled together in the cold training yard, waiting for a promise to be kept. Tell her that her children need her, he said. Tell her to come home. The transport ship landed at dawn, just as the first sun was rising over the purple mountains of Prime. Sergeant Maya stepped off the ship before it had fully powered down. She had not slept during the 3-day journey. She had not eaten. She had simply sat in her small cabin, staring at the walls, thinking of 6 small faces that she had left behind. The message from Commander had been short. Her children needed her. She should come home. She had not asked questions. She had not hesitated. She had walked onto the first transport available and had not looked back. Now she stood on the landing pad, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. The air of Prime smelled of dust and metal and something sweet, like alien flowers. The sky was turning from black to deep purple to the strange orange-pink of a morning. Commander was waiting for her. He looked older than she remembered, tired. The fur around his muzzle had gone, and there were dark circles under his golden eyes. Sergeant, he said, thank you for coming. Where are they? The medical building, they are, he hesitated. They are not well. Maya did not wait for more explanation. She ran. The medical building was on the far side of the compound, but Maya crossed the distance in minutes. She had never run so fast in her life. Her lungs burned, her legs screamed, but she did not slow down. The medical officer tried to stop her at the door. She pushed past him without speaking. Inside, the room was dim and quiet. Medical machines beeped softly in the darkness. And there, in the corner, huddled together on a pile of blankets, were her cubs. They were so thin, she could see their ribs through their fur. Their eyes were closed, their breathing shallow. Little was in the center of the pile, curled into a tiny ball, so small and still that for one terrible moment Maya thought she was dead. Then's ear twitched, once, twice. Her eyes opened. For a long moment she simply stared at Maya, like she was seeing a ghost, like she was afraid to believe. Then she made a sound. It was not a word. It was not a growl. It was something else entirely, a keen of pure relief, pure joy, pure desperate love. It came from somewhere deep inside her small body, from a place that had been holding on for 31 days, waiting for this moment. Maya whispered, "Maya." The other cubs woke. Their eyes found her. And then they were all crying, all making that same incredible sound, all reaching for her with trembling claws. Maya ran to them. She fell to her knees and gathered as many of them as she could into her arms. They pressed against her, climbing over each other to get closer, their faces buried in her uniform, their small bodies shaking with sobs. "I'm here," she whispered over and over. I'm here, I'm not leaving again, I promise, I promise, I promise." Wrapped his arms around her from behind. He was almost too weak to move, but he held on with all the strength he had left. "We waited," he said. His voice was rough, broken. "You said you would come back, we waited." "I know, baby, I know, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." Senna pressed her forehead to Maya's cheek. Torch gripped her hand so tightly it hurt, and leaned against her sides, their eyes closed, their breathing finally slowing into peace. And Little, who had found Maya on that first night chasing birds in the dark, crawled into her lap and curled up exactly where she belonged. "Don't go," murmured. "Please don't go again." "Never," Maya said. Tears streamed down her face, but she did not wipe them away. "Never, never, never, I will never leave you again." Commander watched from the doorway. Behind him, Sub-Commander shifted uneasily. "This changes nothing," said quietly. "They are still vulnerable. She is still a weakness that our enemies could exploit." "Look at them," replied. Looked, he saw 6 cubs, future warriors of the Fang Corps, the elite of the military, clinging to a small human female like she was the center of the universe. "I see weakness," said. "Then you are blind," turned to face his sub-commander. "What you see is the reason the humans have spread across the galaxy, while older, stronger species have faded into history. What you see is why their alliances hold when ours crumble. What you see is the secret weapon that we have been trying to breed out of our soldiers for 1,000 years." "And what is that?" Thought carefully before answering. It was a human word and it did not translate well into, but it was the only word that fit. "Love," he said. "They call it love. It makes them do impossible things. It makes them sacrifice without hesitation. It makes them fight beyond their strength and survive beyond their limits and never, ever give up." He looked back at Maya, surrounded by 6 small bodies. "And it seems that where humans carry it, it spreads, even to those of us who believed ourselves beyond such things." The medical officer approached with a data pad. "Commander, the cubs' vital signs are already improving. Their heart rates have stabilized. They are accepting food and water. The crisis appears to be over." "Of course it is," said. "Their reason for living has returned." Over the following weeks, everything changed. The High Council, faced with undeniable proof of the cubs' abilities, made a decision that shocked the entire Dominion. They assigned Maya permanently to Training Compound 7, not as a visitor, not as a liaison, as a trainer. The first human ever given authority over soldiers. More cubs were added to her program. Then more, then more. Word spread through the military ranks of something new happening at Compound 7, something strange and wonderful. Cubs who fought like demons but cried when they were hurt. Warriors who protected each other instead of competing. Soldiers who would die for their without hesitation. Maya taught them all the same things she had taught the first 6. She taught them to play, she taught them to laugh, she taught them to love. And one by one, they became something they had never seen before. They became a family. Years later, when the first graduates of the program, as it came to be known, were deployed in combat, the Dominion's enemies learned something terrifying. These new soldiers did not fight like individuals. They fought like a single creature with many bodies. They covered each other. They sacrificed for each other. They never, ever left anyone behind. And at the heart of every squad, there was a story about a small human woman who had taught them what they were fighting for. Maya lived to be 93 years old, ancient for a human, barely middle-aged for a. When she finally passed, surrounded by fur and golden eyes and the soft sound of crying, she was the most honored alien in the history of the Dominion. But to her cubs, to the thousands of warriors who called her Maya or Mother, or simply home, she was not a hero or a legend. She was just the woman who had taught them to love. And that, in the end, was the most powerful thing in the universe. Who was no longer little, stood at Maya's memorial and spoke the final words. She came to us soft and small and weak, said, her voice carrying across the vast crowd of warriors. She had no claws, she had no fangs, she could not run as fast as us or fight as hard as us or live as long as us. Paused, looking at the stars where Maya had been born, so many light years away. But she taught us the one thing that matters more than strength. She taught us to love, and because of that we became unstoppable. She raised her claws to the sky in the salute. For Maya, she said, for our mother, for the woman who showed us what it meant to be truly strong. 10,000 voices answered as one. For Maya. And somewhere out among the stars, in whatever place humans went when their short, bright lives came to an end, Maya smiled. Her cubs had learned well. They had learned that love was the greatest strength of all.